Hi, this is Bren Koger, and welcome to Every Day is Wisdom, where every day we co-create with the universe an amazing life in the areas of health, finances, and relationships. And on today's show, I am so honored and happy to have with me Tony Burroughs. He's actually on the phone. We're doing a little phone interview, and he's calling from Four Corners area in Colorado. He's the author of 10 books, including The Code and the Intenders Handbook and Get What You Want, and so many others. And he's the co-founder of Intenders of the Highest Good Community and your Vision Alignment Project, which I just read, Tony, surpassed 1.6 million alignments. It's probably gone up since when I read it, but that alone is so amazing. And also several CDs. I have your On the Road with the Code DVD, which I absolutely love. I play over and over again about the 10 intents, and several YouTube videos. So welcome, Tony. Thank you for being here with me to chat.
Good to be here, Bren. We're friends, so we've known each other for a while, so this will be fun for us.
Yes, definitely. I know you have an amazing blessing that you do before, like when we're doing the Intender circles, and when we before these kinds of things, you like to do the blessing. So I'm going to have you go ahead and do that if you'd like.
Sure. So as most of my listeners know, I don't do much of anything without making an intention first, and that's just what we're going to do here.
Okay.
So I intend that for you and I and everyone listening, that we are all held in the highest light imaginable. That everything needing to be known is known here this day. That all of my words and all of our words are clear and precise and uplifting and helpful and fun. And for each and every one of us who are taking part in this and listening as well, that we are all guided, guarded, protected, and connected throughout this entire experience, and that everything we say and do serves the highest and best good of the universe, ourselves, everyone, everywhere, and so be it, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you. I just felt my shoulders just drop about an inch or two when you did that, Tony. It's just, as always, so calming and just brings this spirit of peace and calmness. I shouldn't be as amazed about it as I am, but every time you can just feel that presence when you do that kind of an intention. I actually first heard about you, Tony, or read, and it was actually the Vision Alignment Project. And I thought maybe you could talk a little bit. The 1.6 million people aligning with especially the beauty of the intentions and the thoughts that you're putting out there, and to have that kind of collective consciousness in alignment with these beautiful thoughts is just so amazing. And I was wondering if you could share a little bit about that, since that's the first time that I heard about your amazing work.
Thank you. In essence, the Vision Alignment Project came to me in a dream, and I was living by the river in Eugene, Oregon at the time, and just woke up in the middle of the night with this idea, with a download, and I was told to start a website, to call it the Vision Alignment Project, to start writing my visions for my ideal world, which is part of the code that I wrote. That's the 9th intent of the code, to share your vision. And so I just started doing that, and I've written over 300 or 400 of them now, and everything from the better treatment of the dolphins to bringing conscience into the political arena and the business arena and so forth. So many different subjects, and I was also shown in the dream to put a hit counter and a yes button, a big green yes, I align with this button, which I made in Photoshop, and put that on there, and the tell people that every time they align with one of these visions, that they are actively and consciously contributing to the creation of it. Every time they hit that yes button, they're actually making a difference. It's a way for people to know that they can make a difference if they can't figure out any other way to do so. So it's a wonderful project. As you said, I think it's just we're now closing in on 1.7 million in terms of the number of alignments, and it's really what is needed nowadays, Bren. It's what we need to be thinking about doing if we're going to create a better world for ourselves. And I know there's so many people out there who are wedded to the consensus reality, the mainstream matrix, or the status quo, or whatever you want it. And yet that status quo is getting, in some ways, uncomfortable for a whole lot of people, as you only have to watch the news for a few minutes on TV to see that's going on, or you look down your street and see who else having challenges in their lives. And so when I came up with the idea for the Vision Alignment Project, I wanted to counter some of that stuff that's going on in the consensus reality, mainstream, and because truly we can create the world of our choosing. We can create a world that's in support of us 24/7, 365. And we just don't do that because we came onto this planet and bought into the prevailing belief systems that were there when we got here. And those belief systems are fast becoming obsolete. And so I wanted to show people what we can have, because when you start to take this piece of information, which is the law of attraction or the intention process or the laws of manifestation, whatever you want to call it, and put it to its highest and best use, why you start thinking about holding a vision of what your ideal is, because since there's no limit on what we can think, there's really no limit on what we can intend. We can intend and envision and thus create a beautiful world for ourselves. We're just not doing it. And so it's time for us to do it. It's time for those, especially those of us who are the light workers, to begin to hold a vision of our ideal world, and know that in the holding of that vision, and the sharing of that vision, that we're creating it, and it's time.
Yes, absolutely. And that can't help but have a reciprocal or like a ripple effect on everyone around us and just people in general. That amount of collective agreement that we're going to raise the vibration and the energy level can't help but have a ripple effect to so many people that we're not even aware of. And I love getting that flow going. And related to that, we are involved in the Intenders Circle, the online Intenders Circle. So maybe we can talk a little bit. There's so much power in that, and I've shared with you. I actually host one of the circles with your help and your mentorship. We have a group of 5 women, and I'd had a mastermind previous to that actually in my home, but now I host an online Intenders Circle, and you have the Intenders Handbook, which is so helpful in getting it set up and any questions that I had. But it has, and I've shared with you before, Tony. It is just the sense of connectedness that the 5 of us share through this process, and not only has it affected all of our lives and being able to support each other and have intentions for our life and speaking them out loud and being aware of our thoughts, being aware of our words and supportive of each other. The side benefit of that is you develop these deep relationships with people and because it's an online experience, which can have its challenges at times, but for the most part, I get to connect with someone in Atlanta, Georgia, someone in Philadelphia, and another lady in, I can't remember. Oh, actually, there's one local here. I just love the technology today to be able to do that, and the way that you've set it up, it's such a beautiful process of going through gratitude and your intentions and seeing the world in, the way that you envision the world to be, and then agreeing collectively on that. So that's kind of you're talking about your vision alignment project. That's something that we do on a weekly basis. And I've actually had to start a new one because I have a couple people interested. And so maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on, because that's just one of my favorite subjects is the Intenders Circle.
Sure, Bren. Of course, we started the Intenders Circles 20 years ago, the real-life ones, in Hawaii, and just four friends just getting together and helping each other and setting the intention right off the bat to create a community that is supportive of one another and where we can actually be creative, consciously creative, and also taking this law of attraction and putting it to its highest and best use. And because so many people are realizing nowadays that it's wise for us to be more vigilant of what we're saying and what we're thinking, because that's what we're creating. Yeah. So these circles that have started up in real life as well as online, now they're all over the world. And, there's so many of I'm just, those of us who started the Intenders were amazed by it all. And then it's just been, a couple of years ago or less that I realized that that this process where we share our gratitudes and share our intentions and share our visions for our ideal world in an Intenders Circle could be adapted to the internet. And about that same time, Google came out with their Hangouts. Yeah. And I imagine they're still perfecting it. But it gave us a way to go about this process online, and it's brought people together from all over the world. And I hear it all the time that we've got an Intender. We call them Intenders Cybercircles, and we've got an Intenders Cybercircle, and we've become really close as a result. And it gives people a way who can't get out as much or can't get to an Intenders Circle in real life a way to still participate and to manifest in groups with their friends. And we think that's important because how are we ever going to get to oneness if we don't begin to come together? Right. So these cyber circles and our real life Intender Circles, again, there's so many now we've lost count of them, and all over the world. And when they're a means for people to begin to come together and to create that oneness and to share their intentions and thus create consciously, because that's what it's all about nowadays, is to really understand that when we say something or we think something, it's on its way into 3D. It's on its way into our regular everyday life. Yes. And what we found is that it didn't really matter if you're in a real life Intender Circle or if you're in an Intender Cyber Circle. They both work. Yes. So nothing could make us happier.
Right. And and you say, the intention process, people intend by default a lot of times and don't realize that what they're thinking about mostly or intending not necessarily consciously can come about. And so we're all kind of doing that intention process, but some of us by default. So, we're doing that as a deliberate process. And I'm sure you have so many examples of, we talk about our win of the week, and we start out with our win of the week usually. And it's so fun because their wins have become my wins. And I can't even explain that whole process where I literally feel as the joy with them. And that's part of the connectedness, I think, is that when they have something that they've intended and they talk about it, it's such a thrill all the way around.
Sure is.
which is so great.
I know. I'm just again, it's excited and blown away by it as anyone. And I know there's people out there who say that, oh no, you shouldn't share your intentions with other people because it dilutes them or it weakens them, but we just have not found that to be true. And the reason for that is because we're always lined up with the highest good. And that's something we get to here in our conversation eventually, but we might as well just get to it right away because it's one of the most important things that we do as a part of our intention process, and the intenders the highest good. And we always say at the end of our intentions that in order for them to manifest, they must serve the highest and best good of the universe, ourselves, and everyone everywhere.
Yes.
And so it's easy to align with other people with their intentions, because if it's not for the highest good, it just won't manifest.
Yes.
And it's a very literal thing. What you say is what you get. So I'm like you. I feel like we become like cheerleaders for each other.
Yes.
We're rooting for each other, and we're keeping our eye out for somebody says they're looking for a car. I've got my eye out for that car.
I do too. Yes. I had one lady, one of my friends, who wanted to have her deck power washed, and she actually got to it before I could, but I wanted to arrange to have do the research on Craigslist to see if I could find a handyman to come in and power wash her deck for her. Things like that. It's funny how you have this brotherhood or sisterhood where it seems like a natural process to I'll check on Craigslist for you. I'll see what I can find.
Sure.
Yeah. So.
Sure, we're all on a team. And it's like the highest good team. And,
yes.
And we really want to see each other be successful. And I've seen people come to the intender circles and be a little skeptical the first time or two, and then maybe not even make an intention. Maybe come back again the next time, make an intention or two, and come back the week after that, and it's manifested for them. And all of a sudden, they're so excited, they're telling all their friends about it.
Yeah.
It's a process whose time has come.
Yes.
Because if we're going to create a better world for ourselves, we need to get proficient at manifesting. And that's what this is all about.
Yes. Tony, you touched on something about the power of words, and I have Get What You Want, and I just have to say, it is such a great book and you mentioned that in your introduction, but to open it to a passage every day, like just open it, and it's amazing how many times it's written in a way so that you have sections throughout that it will speak to what you're what you're needing to hear that day. And I've actually got it open to the one about sabotaging phrases. And I think this is such good information because it took me many years of my life until you've been the one, I know in one of the intention circles that I attended with the Genesis Circle, I remember hearing we had a discussion about the power of words and what you say, and specifically, like, there's certain words that it's subtle. It is very subtle, but, just what you're saying can send that out there, and even subconsciously, you're kind of confirming some things. And related to that is agreeing with, because I think we get in these patterns of relationships, and, sometimes maybe family, it can be friends, but you've established kind of this agreement that if you talk about your things and your dramas and things that come up with each other. But I love, actually this in the book, and then what you say about if someone is having some things going on in their life, to not necessarily say the words or agree with them that you're going to perpetuate what's going on with that. So maybe elaborate a little bit on that. And I've got these 20 phrases here that you have in the book of the self-sabotaging phrases just as examples. But elaborate on the power of that.
Sure. Well, I also wrote a book just before the Get What You Want, which is the art of making and manifesting your intentions. It's called The Law of Agreement.
Okay.
And it's a wonderful book, one of my best, and it's published by Wiser Books. And and what it says is that when we agree with someone else, we reinforce whatever it is we're agreeing with them about. So we want to be real careful about what it is we agree with, because there's some things that we don't want to be agreeing with. Now, I'll take one out of the list just off the top of my head, because I don't have my books in front of me, but I know that in that sabotaging phrases, those 20 questions, one of them says, the doctor says it won't go away.
Right.
And if you agree with the doctor, then you've got to live out whatever it is he said, whatever his diagnosis was. But if you say, oh, no, there are alternatives, I'm not going to agree with that, you don't have to tell him that necessarily, or tell your friends that, or whatever.
Right.
But if you just withhold your agreement, then you aren't adding to the creation of a reality that doesn't serve you in the least, and won't give you the results you want at all. So it's time for us to be a lot more careful about what we're creating with our everyday thoughts and words. And these sabotaging phrases, I got to tell you, Bren, it was fun writing them, because you hear them every day.
Yes.
You just don't have to you can walk down the grocery store aisle and hear them. Everybody, not everybody, but a whole lot of people out there are talking about things they don't want to be creating in the least, and yet we agree with them and reinforce it and perpetuate it, like you say. So it's really time for us to wake up, and by that I mean to be much more vigilant about what we're saying, what we're thinking, because that's what we're creating. And this law of agreement, it's so important. It's so helpful. And I know nowadays when somebody says something I don't want to agree with and don't want to be creating, I'll just go, or I'll go, oh. I won't even nod my head, Bren, because if I nod my head, there's an agreement, and I've got to deal with it.
Yes.
See? So I'm creating it. So I'm real careful about before I say yes,
Right.
And I think I think people need to really pay attention to that, to what they're agreeing with, and because once we begin to agree with each other about the scenarios and experiences that are serving us, that are beneficent and helpful for us, and they're in our highest good, everything will change for us. So I'm glad you brought this up, because the sabotaging phrases in the Little Intenders Handbook, I've had more people comment on those, and I remember writing them, and they just sort of wrote themselves, because it's something you just hear every day.
Sure.
So
it was meant to be.
Thanks for asking about that, and because it's important information for people. We need to really pay closer attention to what we're saying and what we're thinking, because that is what we are creating.
Yes, and like what you said, it doesn't have to be like you take the one about what the doctor says, for example. It doesn't even have to be something that's confrontational, or you're saying it's as subtle as a nod of the head, or saying yes, or it's like a energy agreement, or something internal almost that you're. I mean, obviously it's on the outside too, but even the subtle things like a nod of the head that we do without realizing we're doing it, and just to be aware of those things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A nod of the head will do it, and it's such an interesting time we live with. So much on the TV that is actually doing its best to make people sick. And those of us who are the light workers, we really need to pay closer attention to all of that, and to withhold our agreement, because the human body, first of all, the mind knows every sickness and disease in the physician's desk reference. It knows them all, and it will begin to create them if we let it. So it's just it's time for us to begin to actually be much more vigilant. Is what I keep saying it over and over, but vigilant of what we're creating with our thoughts and words.
And even related to, I know we've talked about when you're when you're saying your intentions out loud about the things that you're wanting, even how you phrase them. Again, it's subtle, but some of the words that you use, even when you're out loud saying what you're wanting, or sometimes if you use the negative connotation of it as opposed to the positive, that can make a difference.
Oh, sure, because you get what you say you want, and you get what you say you don't want.
Yeah.
So if you're saying what you don't want, then and there's a reason for that. If you're saying what you don't want, first you have to envision what it is you want, and then sort of cancel it out. So in order to say what you don't want, you have to be envisioning yourself creating something that you don't really want. And it's a very subtle thing. These little things like refraining from using the words "to be." That's the most common one you hear in an intended circle. People say, "I intend to be happy." Well, you can intend to be happy forever, not quite reach happy.
Right.
So the trick is to bring it into the now.
Yes.
And I intend that I am happy now.
Yes.
And that sends the best possible message to the subconscious, or to the another way to say it is sends the best possible message to your higher self, or to your angels,
yes,
who are watching over and seeing to it that you stay on the path that you set for yourself. And, it's just time. It's time for us to pay closer attention to some of these little words. I'll tell you another one is hoping.
Yes.
The words "I hope." Now, "I hope" is one of my favorite words. Hope, the noun, is just, it's like faith, hope, charity. It's a wonderful word. But the verb, "I hope," it implies doubt.
Yeah.
You can tell when anytime anybody says "I hope," they're doubting that it can really happen. And better to say "I intend" and put some power behind it, some force behind it, and get the results you're looking for. The word that rattles me the most is somebody will say, "Well, hopefully," and I just know they're doubting if they're saying hopefully. I cringe when I hear that word.
Yes.
Because I know they're not really wanting, they're not really intending, wanting, desiring what they could have.
Right.
Just because they're mentioning the word hopefully. So I throw that word out of the vocabulary. It's not doing anybody any good.
Right. Completely get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.